What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of The Truman Show. Today I'm going to be talking about a very special car, and that's my 1990 NA Miata. Now, unlike most Miatas, this Miata is a little bit different. Typically, people would go for something like a turbo, a supercharger, but what we've done here is we've swapped in a 2002 Acura CL Type S motor. Now, this swap kit isn't the simplest thing to do, and that's because not a lot of people do it. There is a kit in the States called Minitech that will sell you a custom front subframe, a adapter plate for the transmission to bolt up to the engine, as well as some other odds and ends like the air intake to make this thing all fit. So why a V6 over something more traditional, okay? And that's pretty simple. First of all, these motors right now are about $500, which if you look at the prices of the 1.6s right now, they're gonna be like $1,000 to $1,500, which is crazy. And so when we were deciding, hey, we want more power in a Miata, like most people do, turbo is really the main route to go. And a lot of people have turbos, and a lot of the problems that come with turbo are from heat or cheap build quality. And so we decided, hey, you know, if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it big. And a V8's a little too big, so what's the in-between there? And it turns out that the V6 is absolutely perfect. I'm not sure if any of you remember watching Phil from the UK, I think it's Car Throttle. Is that right, Car Throttle? Anyways, he's a UK British guy, and he built himself a V6 after test driving one, and you know, seeing that online, we were like, wow, you know, my brothers and I, when I say we're like, wow, that's what we want to experience in a Miata. And so when we had the opportunity to do that ourselves, you know, it was really a no-brainer for us. Now, what's so great about the V6? And in that video where Alex from, I think, you know what, he has a new YouTube channel called Auto Alex, but I think it was Throttle House? No, Car Throttle. Yeah, Car Throttle beforehand. And what he talks about is pretty much exactly what this is all about, okay? So first of all, the torque. Being a V6, the torque kicks in very low, and it's very linear across the power band. So you can drive this thing very low in the RPMs, and it feels insanely fast. The other thing is the noise. Now this only has a 2.5-inch exhaust from the headers back, single exit, but it just sounds like this sporty, exotic, it's hard to describe. It's just so not typical for a Miata, and that's really something else that resonates with me. It's just the uniqueness of the sound as well. We have a little uphill section here, and I'll give you guys a little taste of the power and the sound. So one of the scariest parts about this car is the power it makes. Now, typical Miatas make about 110, 120, the NAs at least, from this generation at the crank. So if you're talking wheel horsepower, you're gonna be down like 90 wheel horsepower 30 years ago. Now, today's day and age, you know, that car's been running for 30 years, who knows what it's at, but this thing makes 230. So that's well more than double at the wheels, and same for the torque. Just blows Miatas out of the water. But it drives so refined down low that it really brings this, it's hard to describe if you haven't been in one before, but Miatas are really a driver's car. They handle very well, they're very small, but when you're putting around town on these back roads and you just kind of want to stretch the legs a little bit, the 4-cylinder really needs to rev out to give you that. And if you're in a turbo Miata, it's just a lot. It's not refined in the same sense. It's more of like an animal, and this thing is just cruises unbelievably well. I hardly ever even use more than 50% throttle in this thing. One interesting fact about this build that a lot of people really overlook is the fact that it is a Honda motor and it does have VTEC. So there is a VTEC kick at 4,800 RPMs, but like I was saying earlier, you don't really need that unless you're, you know, doing a flat out acceleration or something. It just has so much power below that I rarely even ever dip into it. So one important thing to know is that this is my second car. Prior to this, we had a 1.6 liter NA, basically the exact same car, but stock. And we had always really wanted more power. You know, we've been watching a lot of YouTube videos, seeing what people can do with cars and like making a lot of power and how fun it is. But we really didn't have, sorry, one second. We really didn't have that introduction yet. You know, we were just ripping a stock car around. It was a lot of fun, but we always wanted more, but we didn't know what more really meant until we got this thing. Now, I would highly recommend, if you're thinking about modifying a car, to just flat out not do it. It's very expensive, very time consuming, and can be very unreliable. We've had a lot of problems with this thing so far, including a blown up engine, which is all fun if you can afford to do that, but a lot of people just can't. And unfortunately, you know, you could end up spending a lot of money and still not having a running car. So I would just be very careful. It is a very good learning experience, however. I've done a lot of stuff in terms of tuning, in terms of figuring out, you know, what modified builds need, what parts need to work, how cars really communicate from the ECU to the engine, and different things in there that you can work out on your own. But it wasn't until we got this that I really understood what all that meant. And still to this day, you know, it's not perfect. We're working on it, and that is part of the fun. But it's just, you know, if you don't get to that point where you get to enjoy it all the time, it's a really big hassle, you know? So by now, I'm sure you've noticed, I'm a little bit taller than the stock seats here. I am actually 6'5", and I love Miatas. One of the main reasons I do fit is because there is no roof, which is good in most situations that I use the car for, which is, you know, during nice days and that kind of thing. I wouldn't say the car is small. I mean, I definitely can drive it no problem. I wouldn't want to take it on a long road trip, but that's mostly for safety reasons, as in it has 0 airbags. You're sitting in the crumple zone. Obviously no roll bar back here either. But just in terms of a backroad cruiser, there really is no better car than a Miata. It's so lightweight, so nimble, rear wheel drive, front engine. Manual is obviously the only way to drive them. But everybody says, hey, you know what? Miatas are great, but they're slow. Miatas are very slow cars. And by today's standards, absolutely that's true. It depends what you want to do with the car also. If you're driving on these very fast, straight roads like highways or something, yeah, the Miata's slow. It's not a fast car, but it's not what the Miata's about. The Miata's a momentum car. It's about driving the back roads. It's about revving it out. It's about having fun without, you know, killing yourself. So I think that the Miata does that perfectly. And now throwing a little bit more power at it's well and fun, but if it's not controllable, then, you know, you're in a dangerous little car for sure. Just up here, we're coming to a little section where I can do a couple pulls for you guys, just so you can see how it, you know, pushes me around in this thing. And to hear how it sounds. All right, here we go. Second gear, just roll onto it. That's fast. Not over the speed limit though, but fast. So now, one thing I didn't talk about was how we manage the power in this thing. It is on coilover, so it's a little lower center of gravity. But it has 205 50 R15 tires on it, and we're rocking the Falcon Ascensi's 615Ks. Very good, like dry summer tires and grippy, not good in the rain. The Miata also does not have traction control or, you know, stability control, anything like that, so not really ideal to be driving this in poor conditions. It makes a ton of power, a lot of torque. Nothing to really put it down with. As it sits now, it does grip pretty well if you're gentle with it, but if you tramp on it in second gear or even sometimes third gear, it will slip out. Putting the power down, we do have a Torsen differential, which for you Miata guys out there is kind of the upgrade over the stock differentials in these cars. Here we got another little section up here for a pull, so I'll do a third gear. Now, another thing you don't really think about when you modify a car is that when you make more power, the way you make more power is by burning more fuel. So, especially where I live, the gas prices have been super high lately, and with a car that drinks this much fuel, just for reference, the stock 1.6 is a 1.6 liter as in the name, and this is a 3.2 liter. So the displacement has doubled, and the power has basically, tripled in a way. And you can watch the gas needle drop as you do pulls. It's really painful on the wallet, but that's just something I never thought about when I was looking at these high horsepower builds. And you hear like AMGs, twin turbo V8s, like you just must be at the gas station every 2 seconds in those things. It's insane. But again, the noise this thing makes is just, it's intoxicating, really. Just nothing sounds like it, It really does sound like a sports car. If you've ever heard Miatas in real life before, the 4-cylinder's putting along, or a turbo 4-cylinder, they sound good, but it's just such a different sound, and I really appreciate the difference. The way this thing can just pull out of corners. I'm in 5th gear right now, going around a corner, and I can accelerate the other side. Oh, we got a guy stopped up here. That doesn't look too good. Sad for him. All right, it is getting a little dark out here, so I'll try to wrap things up here. Just experience-wise, I say drive a V6 Miata if you have the chance. I know it's extremely rare and there aren't many out there, but if you do, this chassis, the feeling, the power, everything about it is different. It's different from every other car I've ever driven on the roads, including other Miatas. It just feels like it really fits what this car is meant to do. Like, I don't track the car necessarily, so I can't speak from a track perspective, but I can from a road perspective. And what I can say with absolute certainty is this is perfect. This is tons of power. This is tons of power where you want it. It's reliable. It's a Honda engine. It's a great car, great chassis, very fun for driving on these back roads. The transmission, the 5-speed, absolutely fantastic. Woo! The attention these cars get, these are classic cars now, and we go to meets and you're driving by, people give you thumbs up. It's got pop-up headlights. I know you can't see it, but this is just a special car, and it's so affordable relative to other cars, Porsches, whatever, BMWs. It's really a driver's car, and it also looks great. It also sounds great, and the V6 just puts all that over the top. People do V8 swaps in these things, but the V6 is actually an aluminum block, which weighs, some say online, I haven't weighed it myself, weighs the same, if not less, than the stock Miata 1.6, and that's because the stock Miata runs an iron block. So in terms of handling feel, nothing has really changed. The car is just so much faster now. It sounds so much better. Oh, just listen to this. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you want to see anything else, don't forget to drop a comment down below. Please like the video and please subscribe. See you in the next one.